freshly shaven face, just for you. Yo, what's up, boys and girls? It's Swolelax here, and I'm back at it again with another video. This is something just a little bit different. Today, we're going to be talking about Cyber Dragons. So the day has finally come where we've completed 100 straight games of Cyber Dragons. I just want to say a huge giant thank you to everyone that came out and hung out with us in chat, who came out and watched these games, who came out and supported the live stream and whenever we were playing our 100 games of Cyber Dragons. It was a lot of fun, and you guys are absolutely fantastic. So shout outs to all of you. If you guys want to participate in the streams, if you guys want to see the next 100 game series, you can follow me on Twitter at BigSwolelax. It's gonna be links in the description down below. Follow me there if you want some good times, some funny memes. I do polls all the time asking you guys when I should stream, or if like, hey, should I stream tonight? Yes or no? And then you guys are like, no. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of this video, and that's talking about the good, the great, and the bad of Cyber Dragons. I could be a little bit biased because I love Cyber Dragons, of course, coming from the GX era and being a huge GX fanboy, as you guys know. All the games took a lot less time to play, and even the games that were a little bit grindy, I knew I had the tools, I knew I had the resources to try and make a comeback. Even if I lost those games, they were still super fun. I had such an enjoyable time playing this deck, and especially doing it on live stream with you guys was absolutely fantastic. We made some changes here and there to the deck to make it a little more accessible to our budget and what I would play in real life, but through all three versions of the deck, I felt like it was a great time. Unlike No Space, in which the grindy games got really long, all the games are super hard to win. Why? Let's go ahead and start off with things I liked about this deck with the good. But the good things about this deck do have some flaws and do have certain things that I will be addressing inside the bad, but they're not nearly as problematic as other decks. So the good thing about Cyber Dragons. Cyber Dragons obviously are known for their OTK, so outputting that much damage if we needed to do it in a pinch is super easy. There were so many games where I just went to Zeger, Nova, revived the Cyber Dragon, and just swung for game. Especially if they don't have any hand traps or interruptions, that combo is easy peasy. In addition to that, Cyber Dragons have never had any problem with going into rank 5 plays. So if I needed to go into stuff like Constellar Pleiades or Cyber Dragon Nova and Cyber Dragon Infinity for control, then I'll be able to do that with ease, with the greatest of ease. And essentially all the good things about this deck is that you're playing Cyber Dragons. Cyber Dragons are incredibly powerful, they're super fun to play, and they can put out some nutty boards in no time. This does come with its flaws though, with things that are bad about Cyber Dragons. The issue with Cyber Dragons isn't necessarily the issue with the cards themselves, because honestly, all the cards inside of Cyber Dragons that have come out recently that have been seen play inside of competitive decks are insane. Even new cards like Cyberload Fusion, which I only ran out one of inside the deck, is a pretty great card and did win us some games. However, I did side it out more often than not, just because it wasn't necessarily needed for all matchups. And that's kind of the main issue with Cyber Dragons I can see now and going forward, is that the deck isn't necessarily incredibly optimized. What I mean by that is that we actually went through 3 separate builds and variations. We started out with the deck that I actually profiled on this channel a while back before the ban list got hit, so we had to take out a drones, but it's whatever. And then we went to the Sky Striker variant, which was incredibly consistent, super powerful. However, the Sky Striker cards could get semi-bricky, and you didn't want to overload your hand with them. You wanted a good mix of both Cyber Dragons and Sky Striker cards so you can get your plays off, but when you did get the right mix, it was fantastic. And then we had the third and final version, which we played through a majority of our games, which is my favorite version of the deck, which is kind of a pure / budget version of Cyber Dragons. We did utilize cards like Summon Sorceress and Nightmare Griffin just to get some of our combos and plays off. However, we primarily used just the Cyber Dragon cards and Cyber Dragon Fusion monsters. Dramatic lighting change. Don't question it, it's a thematic choice. So when talking about the bad stuff, we have to address the 3 more popular variants of Cyber Dragons that we played. The first being more of an old school type Cyber Dragon deck, focusing on rank 5s and its fusion summons. I know a lot of people like to run instant fusion inside their deck for targets like Panzer Dragon. However, playing many games with this variation of deck, it's just not that good. Don't get me wrong, it's not the worst strategy in the world. You do get a free special summon in the form of a level 5 light machine monster, which is solid. That's free material right there for Constellar Pleiades, for Nova, for Infinity. My issue with this strategy is that 1, it takes up space inside of the extra deck where you could be using it for better monsters, and the fact that you're playing with instant fusion, so if you open up way too many instant fusions, or if you don't open up enough instant fusions, it could mean potentially losing games. Add that on top of the fact that instant fusion itself isn't necessarily the best combo card. What's problematic about going for the fusion plays rather than a more link-centric focused deck is that you're pretty limited to your options, and sure, you could fuse the 2 with the XYZs and fusion monsters, but I argue that's just not optimal for how the deck wants to play. Now, the Sky Striker engine is actually pretty nuts. Having 3 copies of Sky Striker Engage, 1 copy of Hornet Drones, 1 copy of Afterburner, and 1 copy of Jamming Wave, it makes the deck super consistent. My issue with the Sky Striker build comes in the form of 3 problems. First being combo material. While you do want to see a good mix of your Sky Striker engine inside of your Cyber Dragon deck, you don't necessarily want to be flooded with it. Granted, you may or may not be only running 6 cards inside of the deck, but there were several several games where I saw way too many Sky Striker cards and not enough Cyber Dragon cards. I wasn't able to effectively start off a first turn board, and I wasn't able to effectively get my plays going because I was just doing a lot of searching into a lot of nothing. And don't get me wrong, Kagari and Shizuku and Hayate are all three great cards. But that leads me into my second problem with the deck, and that it takes up 3 extra slots inside of your extra deck. This is also to preference taste, so if you want to keep them in there, cool. However, more times than not, I kind of needed just an extra monster that I didn't have necessarily inside of the deck because I was running those 3 cards inside of the extra deck. And then to add that on top of the fact that it's really expensive. My third problem with it is just kind of a personal preference. If you have copies of Engage, if you have the Skrilla to spend on it, go for it. But in my personal opinion, I think the deck runs extremely well without the Sky Striker engine. Sky Strikers do offer somewhat of a boost in card advantage and resource gaining. However, it's not warranting the cost of $300+. You feel? And that leads us into the third and final build, which is my personal preference that I like playing just because it's a little bit more budget and the fact that you can get these plays off incredibly consistent. This build is more of a pure Cyber Dragon deck without anything really fancy. We do take full advantage of cards like Summon Sorceress and Nightmare Griffin, like I said, but for the cost of the deck and how many games we were able just to rampage through, this deck has my heart. During the 100 games of Cyber Dragon, my highest win streak was 11 wins in a row. This was accomplished with the last and final build of Cyber Dragons, which I'll be probably profiling on the channel sometime soon. And now on to the final thing about the deck, and that is the great things about Cyber Dragon. All the new support for Cyber Dragons coming out recently has been absolutely fantastic. We're gonna get to the most recent support that came out in the White Dragon Abyss set, because honestly, it's not really that important, and the deck didn't really need any of those cards. But we're gonna go over the cards that were released inside of Cybernetic Horizon. Now in Cybernetic Horizon, we got the bulk of our new Cyber Dragon support. We did get Cyber Emergency earlier in the year, which is an incredible search card that is a definite 3 of. That card I don't think I need to sing its praises, as it's absolutely fantastic. We got cards like Cyber Dragon Her, Cyber Dragon Veer, Cyber Dragon Zeger, and even Cybernetic Overflow. All these cards coming together to just boost the deck up from its already powerful form as it was to an insane rogue strategy. These cards make the deck so fun to play. Cybernetic Overflow is a perfect spot removal card as it's non-targeting, you can do multiple cards, and it's so smartly designed. If you want to go for the tiny brain plays, then you can just flip it on your opponent, boom, banish the Cyber Dragon monster, pop a card. But this card forces you to manage your resources in an effective manner. That way you can set up your graveyard for its activation later, making sure to use multiple level Cyber Dragons inside of your combo to then destroy multiple cards on your opponent's board. It's integral to this card's effectiveness. Add all of that on top of the fact that if it's destroyed by card effect, you can search a Cyber Dragon, spell a trap card, including itself. It is searchable with Cyber Dragon Core, makes this card a definite 2 or 3 of inside of this deck. I slept on this card and I personally thought it was just going to be okay. However, I was completely wrong. Then we got Cyber Rev System. Cyber Rev System is actually an interesting one. Personally, for me, I think that this card shouldn't be run more than 2 of inside the deck. Yeah, no, it hurts to hear. It's actually such an incredible card on paper, but in practicality, it just doesn't perform the way you think it does. It's weird to hear me say that too, because if you run more than 1 of them inside the deck, and let's say you run it at 2, then it should be fine. However, in the games that you do run into both those copies inside your opening hand can be a little bit problematic. Makes this card good still, but surprisingly lackluster compared to the other support. Now, I kind of rambled on about Overflow for a little bit too long because that card's so good. Now we're gonna talk about the monsters, Hers, Veer, and Zeger. These 3 cards were exactly what Cyber Dragons needed. Veer shouldn't be necessarily more than a 1 or 2 of inside the deck. If you normal summon something like Hers or Core and you don't necessarily have any other plays to go into, you can chain Veer to special summon itself and then go into your link plays. Not necessarily a bad card per se, but you definitely want to run this card over something like Cyber Dragon Dre. Now Zeger is actually pretty solid. This card is a nice link monster for the archetype. The arrows are kind of weird, however they can lend themselves nicely to certain combos, but its attack boosting effect is actually the MVP of this card. There were several times where I OTK'd my opponent by just having Zeger, Cyber Dragon Nova, and then another Cyber Dragon on the board. Or sometimes if you don't have that material, you can go into Zeger, and then you can go into Chimera Tech Rampage Dragon, double Rampage Dragon's attack, and then proceed to attack 3 times with a 4200 beast. And now let's talk about Hers. So Hers is actually kind of interesting because initially whenever you look at this card, you say, oh cool, a search, which 9 times out of 10, that's what you're gonna be using it for. Effectively, whenever this card gets sent to the graveyard, then you can search a Cyber Dragon from your deck or graveyard and add it to your hand. This pairs extremely well with cards like Galaxy Soldier, being that you can discard it with Galaxy Soldier and then chain block the Galaxy Soldier, so that way you can get the Cyber Dragon to your hand, and you can also get the Galaxy Soldier to your hand from the Galaxy Soldier's effect, making it essentially a free Nova. Previously to this, there'd be several times where you activate the Galaxy Soldier effect, and then you either get Ashed or Ogre, then you're like, oh man, this feels bad. But now the ability to chain block that effect is just stellar. Hers also has a special summoning effect, being that if you special summon it, then you can make it a level 5 monster, but I really didn't use that too often. And in fact, even when I did special summon it with something like Core, I actually just wanted to use the search after I linked it away for something. It's definitely worth running 3 of, especially because now it's also another target for something like Machine Dupe. But I think I've gushed about this deck for far too long. I will be making more Cyber Dragon videos coming out in the future because I want to discuss the new support that just came out because I have some issues with it, honestly. Don't get me wrong, it's fine that we got a Power Bond Searcher and the Cyberload Fusion is pretty okay, but I'll just have to explain it there. But once again, I had a great time playing Cyber Dragons. I love streaming it. You guys were fantastic on the live stream. So if you guys want to come out to those, make sure to follow me on Twitter to know when those go live. And also let me know what you guys think about Cyber Dragons. Do you guys like Cyber Dragons? Do you guys hate Cyber Dragons? What do you think about certain combos? Do you guys have any nutty plays that you've made as Cyber Dragons over the years? What's your favorite Cyber Dragon monster? Let me know inside the comment section down below. And if you guys like the video, make sure to leave a like. If you want some more, please subscribe. Got a lot more videos coming down the pipeline, so stay tuned for that if you want to. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Peace out.